and respect and speak to on a daily basis. And it's just in horror stories, really. It's technically it's no fault of their own, the way that FTX have presented themselves so well. And even if you'd asked someone who's been around a very long time, where would be the safest place to keep your crypto? And people were even saying, where would you keep your crypto after the whole Luna thing and all the hacks that were coming around? And people were saying 90% of people should keep it on a centralized exchange. And this has came out, and it's just...
If I could have, I would have been on FTX. Like I'm based out of New York, so it's like you get asked out of everything. Like New York's supposed to be the financial capital of the world. In crypto, it's like it's the asshole of the world. Like you because of the bit license, like the only things that are available are Coinbase and Gemini. And I have no problem with Coinbase. Like they've always worked for me perfectly. Never had an issue. But FTX US is available to everybody else in the United States, but New York. And I would have been on them. I would have been on FTX US, which I don't know if it's, I'm seeing a lot of, again, there's so much on the timeline right now. This is what the part that gets exhausting. You don't know what's true and what's not. But even if I could earlier on, like, I'm a trader, so I want to be on the most liquid, the deepest exchanges. So Binance is out of the question, right? We all know, like, the Binance is the deepest exchange. They absolutely could swallow everybody else. But no one in the United States can trade on Binance. I mean, you could buy KYC, but you probably run into trouble either way from that. Then there was FTX. And if there wasn't that issue with, just weirdness in the order book, I would definitely have been on FTX because I respected Sam,
We all
and
did.
I always thought that was like a really cool thing about crypto is that, we've congregated and built this community, and you're able to like access and walk amongst giants, in telegrams, in groups with these people that were phenomenal traders that you respected. They were accessible. Sam was accessible. If you had a question and posted on Twitter, Sam answered. He wrote threads constantly and seems like a good guy in the space. I had these other feelings though about, like, I don't know. I don't want to say like I judge a book by its cover, but for me, how someone kind of carries himself is kind of important physically. So it kind of always rubbed me the wrong way that he was so sloppy looking.
And it deteriorated as well. Like, fresh faced, young looking guy 3 or 4 years ago when FTX was coming onto the scene, and then recently it looked like he'd just come out of a crack den or something.
Yeah, and now we know now we're hearing so many things like it was all a veneer. It was all fake. Like he was living in a $35 million penthouse, in the
Bahamas.
It's shocking. It really is.
Yeah.
And it's like, listen, people make mistakes. Like it's not hard to find plenty of mistakes in legacy markets. Long-term capital management was one. Those guys were the best and the brightest, PhDs, Nobel Prize winners. But Sam comes on and posts a thread yesterday saying, "Oh, I miscalculated." Yeah. It's like, no, don't lie, man. You, in every conversation, everything about Sam was like calculating the EV, the probability of something, like very formulaic, very calculated. So for him to just be like, "Oh, I wasn't paying attention to the most important thing that I need to pay attention to," he's basically calling us assholes, right? Like it's unacceptable, right? He's full of shit. So
just digging himself a deeper hole. Like
he would have been better off just standing up there and saying, "Things got out of hand. We thought we could make it back in 1 or 2 trades, and the wheels came off, and that's what happened. And this is where we're at now, because that is what happened."
That is definitely. That's definitely what happened. Yeah. I mean, I hate to use the word definitely, but again, I'm like describing this to my wife yesterday, and I'm like, she wants to know, and I'm getting into it. I'm like, oh my God, this is all right. So I'm telling her, then I'm finishing off saying, I think it just got away from him. It's a slippery slope. You make a few mistakes, they grow, and it proceeds to grow from there. And I don't think he was malicious at the beginning. So
have you seen that movie Molly, the woman who ran the poker games, the high stakes poker game?
Molly's Game? Yeah.
Molly's Game, yeah. Where there's a scene where there's this player who's the tightest, most calculating player, and he starts losing. But instead of stopping, he just goes more into tilt, lands up losing $1 million. And that scene in that movie is what happened to Sam, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. There's
this psychological phenomenon that actually I used to talk about a lot, where, and this is tilt. This is why tilt is so dangerous, because when you go on tilt, it's almost like you're not able to stop yourself anymore. Your brain kind of, in a way, like, and they say it's around like the 50% point. So let's say you lose 50% of your account. You start thinking, well, fuck it. I already lost so much. I'm going to lose everything. And you almost commit to that reality before it's there. Right. So you might still have a significant amount of money left, but your brain kind of takes over at that point, and you basically write that off. Like, I'm this far in the hole. It's either all or nothing. Right. And it's very difficult to get out of. And I've as even being a disciplined person, they always say, your worst loss is ahead of you, but I am over a decade in this now. I've had some really bad days where I've seen myself begin to pick up speed in that direction, and it's scary because you do lose control to some degree. And I'm still around now, but I've been close before to having that. I don't know I'm sorry if I curse on this video, and I don't know if
you can say what you want.
Oh, okay.
You can say whatever the fuck you want, brother.
Yeah,
this isn't bankless.
You get to that point where you're just like, fuck everything.
Totally.
I've already lost this much. So
I wonder where that comes from. Like, not to take it like too psychological or anything like that, but I really, really, there's got to be like papers on stuff like that. I'd love to see where that actually stems from, and like the actual theories about why that's been derived in the human brain. That'd be fascinating.
What teaches mindfulness?
I don't know.
It's like the lizard brain thing. What happens is that you go into fight or flight mode, and you go into straight lizard brain mode, and it's either survival or death, and there's nothing in between. That's what it is. Yeah. It's a very straightforward premise,
Wow.
And that's what happens to us. I mean,
yeah, you become just very masochistic. So definitely.
So Ryan, with great power comes great responsibility. I mean, probably one of the best cliches ever. I mean, you have great power on Twitter. You've got a great following. I think in my opinion, you are probably one of the most respected, like, individuals' accounts. I mean, obviously, we refer to people, real people, as accounts, like your account. I mean, it's so funny. But the reason why I'm bringing that up, and the duality of it, is that you're a very real person, and you very much carry your heart on your sleeve in terms of the way that you conduct yourself in the Twitter space. I think I'm very much like that as well. I think that's like something that I pick up in you that I also have in the space, is that we are who we are. And the question that I have for you is, was that a conscious thing, or is it like, I am who I am, and I'm just going to take it out there, and I'm just going to, do this game that is Twitter and play it the best I can in terms of the real me, as opposed to LARPing, which a lot of guys do?
Yeah. So I didn't think there was any other way. Like, when I first, and it's funny how this space has evolved, because it turns out, like, the people that were, there's criminals that are avatars and there's criminals that are doxed. But my first impression of anything is to just be my genuine self. So I came to Twitter originally and was my genuine self, and you get pushback because people are like, No, you're not supposed to. This is crypto. You're not supposed to be doxxed. You're not supposed to have your face in your picture. I mean, but I was also like an average of a decade older than everyone around here, and it took a while to learn that. But I mean, you see how many people just LARP all day, though. Like they're afraid of being themselves. And I think that there are certain personality types that come to this space for a reason. But I've always been in my life, like I've always been this way. I've always been very transparent, always wore my emotions on my sleeve. Never thought anything of it. So it felt very natural to be my normal self on my Twitter account too. Whereas I feel like most people, and this is like, it's not hard to figure out. Like people act differently when they're behind a computer screen than when they are in person. And I feel like a lot of people on crypto Twitter are like struggling with identity and are projecting who they want to be rather than who they are. You know, it gives, and being anonymous a lot of times allows you to do that. You know, I used to have this joke because I had a friend who was a pathological liar, and I used to say, "Oh, he's great. He's great at parties. He gets along with everybody because he could be everybody." You know, you would talk. You anywhere we'd go, like if like we were talking to a guy who like drove a Caterpillar dump truck, he would have a story that related because his uncle had like it was all bullshit, you know. But he was never himself, and he still isn't to this day, and it's sad to see. And
yeah,
you know, it's the best way to go through life is to just say, here I am. If you don't like it, I will be happy that is the filter that keeps you out, because I'll find other people that I get along with. And then I'll know that I'm around the right people to begin with, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So how far, when everything's just going absolutely ballistic and we're in much greener times and greener pastures and everything's just doing ridiculous numbers every single day, how far like down into the depths of like the medium and lower caps do you go? And I suppose liquidity could be an issue if you're trying to trade with size, but did you piss around with DeFi an awful lot when it was coming onto the scene?
No, I definitely I would be like doing this from like a 150-foot yacht if I did. And not the one, not the criminal yacht that everyone's buying now.
With Sue.
With Sue, yeah.
No, I don't know. I feel like I can't complain because it's what's kept me whole, is being very skeptical of everything. But that meant that during the bull market, like I took 5Xs instead of 50Xs, because I just traded everything rather than believed in anything. But when there's momentum and it's a bull market, I go down to the lower caps. But if there isn't, it's one person can change everything in a lower cap. I was interested in some small projects a long time ago, and I got shit for them for sharing. It's funny, like everyone who knows me knows that I'm a Bitcoin ETH trader, some other things, very few and far between. But I was like trading Shroom and G-Swap and FXS, and that was basically it. But I was trading them. Like I never could fully commit because I was just always so worried of committing real money to something that someone else can just remove liquidity from and sell and change everything, without any kind of like, I hate to say this, that Bitcoin, Ethereum are somewhat predictable, in like a 24-hour period. I kind of have an idea of, and it's, it's a false belief because anything can happen, but I kind of have an expectation that is grounded. Whereas with alts, like, since they're so thin, like not alts, small caps, those small projects, if I'm trading them and I don't have like an underlying belief in them or an understanding in them, any kind of investment in them, they could change. They could do a complete 180 off of just a few people making decisions, like buying and selling. So I don't know. I had a tough time dealing with that. The idea of like, oh, this setup looks like it's taking place in this small cap. And then, I'm in the small cap, and it's not like at the time there was great exchange options for stop losses or anything like that. And someone sells, however much amount and wipes the chart, and it's, it's, I don't know. It just wasn't my thing. It wasn't my area of competence. It's not something I wanted to try to add to the things that I'm already trying to dedicate bandwidth to. But again, it's definitely capped my upside, because there are a lot of things that ended up doing really well. And I probably shouldn't even have looked at the chart, because the chart was kind of irrelevant for that same reason. It's like the chart moves so much early on because it's so thin and it's a small project. Why even look at the chart? Commit if you're, if you believe in it, put it away for a month. And these are things I used to say to people too, like, oh, don't stare, don't get into the position and stare at the chart. But at the same time, it's like, I'm saying that and then I'm doing that. And the best thing that would happen for me, and this is, still to this day, if I'm in a swing position, the best thing for me to do is to be distracted with something else, because it's very tempting to be a generalist in this market. And I'm on one screen trading low time frames intraday. And then in the same asset, I'm like, oh, I want to put on a longer swing here too. And there's cross contamination between those two approaches. And so for me, my swings were always good when something can get me away from the computer. It's like a life obligation even. Like, oh, got to go to someone's christening. Thank God I'm not going to get myself out of this position. So yeah, but I haven't explored DeFi enough. Like I missed out on, a lot of the airdrops, didn't bridge much when everyone was bridging, didn't do any of the yield farming. But I think that at this point in my life, like one thing that's been my strong suit is knowing what my strong suit is, knowing where the limited amount of mental capital I have, where that's best deployed. So spreading myself out, trying to figure out things that are new rather than kind of doubling down on my strong suits. It wasn't a priority of mine. Like I know what my area of competence is. So
yeah, that's huge, particularly now. It's like I feel like I've got a similar story with the whole NFT space. I know people made complete bank on that, but I just didn't know what I was doing. So I just
same here.
Bought some worth practically nothing. There's a few that are worth reasonable amounts, but it's just coming back down to kind of, if you know what you're good at and you know how to define your edge, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yep, 100%. I missed the NFT thing too. I bought a few that I bought NFTs that I liked, but I couldn't. There was just so much going on in that space. I wasn't going to try to fool myself and act like I could immediately. We have this saying in trading, like one of the worst things is style drift, where you're like constantly looking for a new approach to the market, or maybe your current approach, your current edge isn't giving you a lot of opportunities. So you start trying something else and you try a new indicator, and it's dangerous. Like you don't see that anywhere else in life. You don't have high school and middle school football, you do, like everyone's playing every position, but you have positions, right? You know what your role is, and that's what and you don't suddenly change positions when you're not finding any success in that previous one, right? Because you have certain technical skills. So for me, NFTs I bought some, I lost money on. I bought a moon for like $30,000. It was the moon plot. Do you remember moon plots?
Yeah.
And that was one that I was like, yeah, this is going to do well.
Because it's got a moon on it, obviously.
Oh my God, yeah. So, and I bought some other things, but for me, it was like, I like these, and I'm going to, a couple of them, there was this one project I really fell in love with, and it was, God, I forgot the name of it now, but there were these pictures of like very ethereal pictures of dogs in certain settings. And I loved them because I love dogs. But I bought them, right, because I wanted to own them, but then I wanted to print them and put them on my wall. So that's what I ended up doing. But yeah, I completely missed that whole bubble.
Yeah, it's probably for the best, to be honest. Looking at the portfolio at the minute. So I've seen you've recently got onto YouTube. Are you diversifying out? What's the plans around this? And are we going to be seeing a little bit more of your face?
But wait, there's more. There's more.
All right.
He's got a Discord as well. He's fallen into the trap of Discord. He set up his Discord 2 days ago, and it's like, I wanted to chat to you about that, but YouTube first. Let's go.
So I don't know if you guys knew, but I have another YouTube account that had like 18,000 followers on it already.
That was Blockroot.
Yeah,
right?
so I was doing all content on that.
I wanted to chat about Blockroot as well.
So myself and Rager on Twitter, we co-founded that, and we have something we've been working on for the last year. And I feel like the last couple months I've kept saying like it's a month away from completion. I want to say that again, like there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes, but it's not something we're rushing by any means. So in the time being, I'm going to still put out content on Blockroots through Blockroots because that will be under that. But yeah, I created a new YouTube, and it's a completely different, like I built a big Twitter being myself. YouTube is, you have to be a certain way that just doesn't appeal to me to grow fast. At least I have no interest in being that like guy with the big mouth open on his YouTube thumbnail.
Imagine Ryan with a big mouth.
Like, how do you know? Like,
dude, it wouldn't suit you. It wouldn't suit you anyways.
How, as a man, am I going to feel comfortable? Like, right? Like, I feel like I have some integrity. So every other day, like the thumbnail is like, it's a diametric opposite emotion. So it's like, appealing to people's fear or to their greed constantly. And there's not enough going on in the market, honestly, for me to think that, there is this last week, but for it to be that exciting to create YouTube content enough. So I want to grow the YouTube in a very normal way, which is me just sharing my trading, doing live streams. But it's honestly, it's tiring, like live streaming. Because I'll stream during trading hours and then I'll realize like, I don't want to do this right now. Like I want to trade, then I'm taking questions. So I haven't figured out like my, I guess, rhythm with it yet. But the Discord is an effort to really organize things. It's not going to be like, I opened it yesterday and there's a lot of people that are excited in there. And I'm already like, I don't want to burst anyone's bubble, but this is not going to be a Discord where I like babysit people. I just want to make certain things available and sort of curated and put in one centralized place. And that's it. Like I'll be in there talking, but I want to share my trades in there. So I want to make the trades transparent. And that means like me just placing them in a channel for people to view, not for me to like all day talk about them. But we'll see. Like, honestly, it's probably, it's me kind of satisfying that, oh, let's do something new feeling. And there's no fee, there's no cost. Like I've been working alongside Femex now for 3 years, but by any means, I always tell people, use whatever exchange you're comfortable with. Like you see what happens. At the end of the day, you're responsible for yourself. Like it's the market, trade where you want. I'll say like, I was having a conversation with a guy yesterday and he's like, I'm trying to, I'm looking for an exchange to join. He was putting a couple $1,000,000 on an exchange and he's telling me how he's trading though, too. He's like, well, I need to put $1,000,000 on the exchange. And I'm thinking I would never put $1,000,000 on an exchange, like, especially after this. I've always had things in wallets and then I use leverage to trade based on those amounts. Like So to reflect my portfolio value, even with like my TradFi brokers, I would never deposit a lot of money on them. You know, you're using leverage to still trade based on your approach. So he was going to deposit all his money onto the exchange just to trade that value of contracts, right? So let's say he deposits $1 million because he wants to trade 1 million contracts. And I'm telling him, like, no, you don't do that, dude. Deposit a fraction of that and then use the leverage to represent that off exchange amount. You can still hedge the same. Yeah, you'll have a little bit more path dependency because you're liquidation, but you're still going to lose the same amount of money, right, that you would anticipate losing. And then he started telling me it was because he accepts going into drawdown. And I'm thinking, all right, so you definitely have other issues. He's like, no, you know, it's if I go into 20% drawdown, I'm comfortable with it. I'm like, all right, okay, that works out until it doesn't, you know. So, but yeah, we'll see what comes of the Discord and the YouTube. I have to find a system where I'm comfortable because I haven't found it yet. Like I just know I want to do it, but so far I get off the live streams and I'm like, oh God, that was exhausting. I don't know how other people, I don't know how other people constantly stream like 5 days a week. And maybe it's because I'm older now, like to be honest, like maybe it's because I'm older. I don't have the energy levels to sit on a stream and answer questions 5 days a week. It's like during market hours, where's my time better spent? You know, is it better spent trading or streaming? You know, I don't get paid to stream, so I don't have any special, you know, payments that I'm getting from tokens or anything like that. Like I've been partnered with Femex, but you know, my bread and butter is trading. So
Ron, what is the one thing that you like, the single thing that you're looking to achieve with the Discord and with the YouTube, besides kind of keeping a diary of it? I mean, essentially you are treating it like a diary or kind of like a record of what it is that you're doing, but is there kind of another motivation beyond that?
Oh yeah, 100%. So while dealing with like little frustrations and growing pains of figuring out how to fit it into my life because I want to do it, right? And that's all it is. Like I want to do it. It's not. I don't want to give the intention of like I created this thing and I'm like fed up with it. No, I know that there are certain. So like I said, in my life, very organized, very regimented, very disciplined. So I know that with things, there's processes that you should incorporate into those things and make them as efficient, as, you know, effective as possible so that they fit in your life too. Like for me, for example, you know, I used to go to the gym at any hour during the day. Now I know that if I don't go to the gym between the certain window of the day, like the rest of my day is it's going to encroach into the rest of my day. It's going to throw me off. I know that it's going to become more important when I have a kid too, because, you know, I don't know what it's going to be like to be a dad yet. I can't think like, oh, I'm going to have this amount of time. I have no idea. Right. So for me right now, I'm trying to figure out the best way to do the YouTube and the Discord because I want to do it. And the reason I want to do it, the goal with it, is because throughout my life, I have had people that were mentors, right? That gave me the time of their day for nothing, just because they were good people. And I've always enjoyed, and I don't want to quote him, I like him, right? But Tony Robbins says the secret to living is giving. I feel like the most important thing when you get to a certain point is giving back. And I know that sounds kind of hokey, but it's the truth. Like that's always been that's always been me. And because people gave me the time of their day when I was younger, I feel like I kind of have to pay that forward. And to be honest, like another reason is a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about, it's not like, you know, tier 3 confidential shit. It's available public information, how markets work for the most part, right? There's no insider information for how I'm trading. It's available on YouTube for free. You could find it in books. So I didn't create it, right? All I'm doing is curating it and putting it together in one area, because that's where most people have trouble. Like they come to you with questions like, where do I find this? What do I use? what's the best approach? And they're going all over the internet, and they're going to people that are, some of them are honest, some of them are not. So if I could create a source where all that stuff is compiled and, people trust me, then I think that it's, I don't know. I think it's worth doing. That's the best way I could put it. I just feel like I was given something earlier in my life by people that I looked up to and gave me minutes of their day, and that I'm kind of obligated in a way to make sure that I pass that, I guess, energy forward. So.
Yeah, that's great. That's great, because as you well know, the amount of shit information in the space that, when they say with enough confidence, comes across as if they know what they're doing. But from our kind of Discord or anything like that, if anyone's asking for any information around that, we'll just send them your way. Not to let them annoy you or anything, but we'll just pass them on, because we're helpless.
Yeah. Speaking of your Discord, I tried to enter your Discord and I keep reacting with the ape and it won't let me in. So
yeah,
we'll get that checked out.
Squirrel said that as well today. You need to sort that out.
But
I wonder what's happening.
Yeah, that's the goal.
I'll sort that out. Yeah. I'll definitely sort that out. Just in terms of the Discord, I was going to wait until afterwards, but we'll probably forget. If you need help with anything in Discord, let me know. Can definitely help you with that. Anything you need.
Yeah, I definitely will.
Give us a shot.
I'll reach out to.
Yeah.
I'll reach out to you. I haven't got around. I set it up, but I'll take a look over it over the next week. So.
Yeah, I mean, Discord. The secret with Discord is just get it organized early, so that you can then pull the strings, essentially, literally from the top down. If you do that, it makes it so much easier. It will make your life, you just put that time in initially, and then it just makes it so much easier. If you don't, it's a pain in the ass. It really is. And it will just take up way too much time, and you'll end up closing it. So, yeah, that's what happens. I mean, I've been there before, and if you don't do it properly from the start, it just really just consumes all your time. Now, we've got good admins. The secret is finding good admins and good mods. And once you've got that, but that's the hard part, that finding the right people. But the cream always rises. You'll figure it out after 2 weeks. You'll know exactly who's going to be those people.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's a process. I wanted to ask you your thoughts. Obviously, we chatted about, what happened with, this whole centralized exchange and, the centralization of things. And we know that there's benefits to that. But we've obviously seen the disadvantage of what's played out. What do you see the role of DeFi and specifically, your decentralized exchanges like your GMXs playing a role in the future? Do you think that's something that we'll see like in the next 3 years, 5 years, if ever? I mean, what are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, I definitely think it's something we'll see. It's still very much in its early stage right now, I feel. When they came out recently, everyone got very excited. But it is still, I think we're still early innings with that. I definitely think that there's a role. I feel like this year has been a crash course on why these things are important. I think centralized exchanges are superior to decentralized exchanges right now for obvious reasons. But we see how things can go wrong. So the fact that someone was able to use customer funds, that would be something that wouldn't be possible with a decentralized exchange, right? So that is a clear advantage. But I think that we're a ways away from those things being perfected. And hopefully we don't see, because of what's happened, that this innovation is stifled, because there is absolutely a place for it. But you had the guy who was supposed to be rubbing elbows with the top regulators, right? With the regulators. And he is the one who is now given a black eye to the industry. So it's kind of like you couldn't have if this is not a book in 10 years that I'm telling my child like I was there, I'm going to lose faith in authors, because this is up there in terms of like Bernie Madoff level schemes. So
I think Michael Lewis is in the middle of one on SBF.
Yeah. I don't think it was supposed to turn out this way, though. I think it was like,
what an ending. Yeah,
yeah.
Jesus Christ.
But yeah, I think that if there's anything that's clear, and Eric Voorhees talked about it, I think this morning, that this is showing clearly that there is a role for DeFi, right? So however long it takes for this to grow and us to get past this, this terrible event, it's not my place to guess. Like, I'm not a technical guy, so I don't know what needs to be improved. I know that this year, though, with the promise of DeFi and all of the positive things that it stands for, there have been an insane amount of hacks and exploits and signs that maybe people built too fast. And it makes sense, right? During the most insane bull market of the last, this generation, why build slow, right? A lot of the incentive structures that existed also were backwards. How do you keep people motivated to build when they're getting rewarded, front loaded right away with rewards? So I think we have this space has a lot of growing to do. Like, the most common thing to say is like, we're early. I think from like a technological standpoint, I don't think that we're early anymore. Like this, Bitcoin is however many years old, ETH is however many years old. But from a maturity standpoint, I think that we're definitely infantile. So
yeah.
But even DeFi doesn't come with its like perfections. Even DYDX is currently Solana is in close only mode, so you can't even open a position in Solana at the minute on DYDX, which is the biggest decentralized exchange. I don't know what's decentralized about that, but they went full Robin Hood today with Solana.
Yeah. So, and you're seeing a lot, like the front ends are obviously what gets KYC'd, but these things that were supposed to, they prided themselves in the beginning of the bull market as, or when times were better, we'll say, as like crypto purists and appealing to the ethos of crypto and building their brand and protocol based on that, and then turning over once they're kind of put to the fire by regulators and the like. So you'll see that most people will like sell their grandma, right? If they're going to be left off with millions of dollars and left better off, like you'll see a lot of people, you'll see who's honest and who believes and who doesn't. And I think that this space is full of people that are saying one thing and, shaking your hand with one hand and pulling your wallet out of your back pocket with the other. So I don't know. I remain a skeptic, but I do believe in the space long term.
Okay. Ryan, how much longer do you have? We're really conscious of not taking up too much of your time. You've already given us more than we could.
We could go a little longer. I'm fine. Whatever you guys want, it's fine.
Just another 5 minutes.
Sure.
Yeah, for sure. I had a question here. Let me just minimize this a second.
You're just stopping me from losing money.
Is that what we just did? Cool.
Yeah, no, the open, like I've been trading the open, and then I've been like, again, trying to spread myself across all markets like I'm some machine, and just realizing it's not the best thing. So I give my money back at the end of the day.
Yeah. Have you got into automation or algos or anything like that yourself, or?
No, not really. I mean, earlier on, some basic stuff, but we're talking like moving average crossovers and some really available public stuff that is not hard to automate, especially now that there are third-party platforms that help you do it. But no, I am a point-and-click manual trader.
So you said at this before we came on, you said that you you felt like you were spreading yourself and not focused enough. Can you just talk through that again? Because I think that's quite interesting in terms of traditional markets versus crypto markets, and the kind of routine that you've picked up off that and what works for you.
Yeah. So I think that the problem is that in the last couple of years in crypto, with me being only focused on crypto, it has been possible for you to be a generalist and to dip your toes in everything that's going on, right? Trying to right now, so getting back into trading index futures, trading it the same way I'm trading BTC, even though they're correlated, right? They move completely differently. It is way more predatory. It's like FTX. It's way more predatory in legacy markets. You actually have real HFT, like microwave level stuff. Crypto HFT it's slow compared to real legacy HFT. So it's a completely different market in terms of microstructure. So my thing was, I'm going to get back into trading legacy. And again, joked around how it's always kind of a sign of where we are in the cycle when people talk about trading other markets when vol is crushed, because legacy vol was higher than crypto vol for a period of time till recently. So I was getting back into trading the ES in particular. And then, my setup is a bunch of crypto stuff. And then I'm looking at the ES and looking at the DOM and the ES. I would be trading the morning. When I'm talking about what I've done the last 2 weeks. Like I just got back into it, making money in the morning and giving it back at the end of the day. And I just realized there's no way that at least me anymore, speaking for myself, maybe some 20-year-old kid with a prescription of Adderall can, but there's no way to approach both markets and perform really well consistently. I just don't have the bandwidth. Like trading in crypto, I think it's really softened. It's probably softened me in the sense that it's mistakes are like coming out in a bull market, you're saved from your mistakes a little bit more. The trend can save you. In a bear market, it's a completely different story. It's way more adversarial. We're way more PvP now. But still, I feel like it hasn't been as important in crypto to be as strict of a trader as you have to be in legacy. It's way more forgiving, put it that way. So going back to legacy and still having this kind of, I could approach the desk in the morning, kind of wishy-washy and do well in crypto. Approaching legacy like that, I just feel like maybe it's in my head, but it's definitely translated in terms of P&L. It's not possible. Like you have to be very focused on one market. And again, this could be just me, right? Maybe it's because I'm older now and I'm like, don't have the mental dexterity to do it. But I feel like maybe with what's happened recently, it's a good sign of like, hey, maybe take the rest of the quarter to devote to trading legacy, and we'll keep an eye on crypto, but there's no way for me to do both as well as I want to. It's not like I'm, getting my ass kicked, like I'm joking around, right? But I just know that me personally, the things that bother me and like keep me up, and they don't actually keep me up, but I'm talking about like the things that come into my head when they shouldn't, are mistakes that I make or areas where I know. And it's not like things that catch you blindsided, right? It's the things that are stupid, but you do anyway. And I know that I'm making them because I'm spreading myself out, trying to like be a hero in both markets when it's just stupid. It's poor decision making on my part. So yeah, not getting my ass kicked, but watching what I reap in the morning, like just consistently giving it back around 3 to 4 p.m., like to the close. Like, all right, there's a pattern there. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I think most of us end up doing that, just being focused on one market. I think it would be a lot more difficult to do it if you're looking at 2 markets, or even 3 for that matter. Just not going to be that productive, right? Clearly, that's what's happening to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have one last question, unless Grant, you've got a last question.
Yeah. What would be? Would you be trading purely like if you were to re-enter crypto market, or if you're just kind of trading? What's kind of what would be like an external signal? And also, I put it at a very low probability, but I've been asking people this all day yesterday. What probability do you think that SBF can actually manage to raise, and is there anything worth raising for?
So in terms of me getting back into the market, I always like to buy into a higher market. Prices moving down. I don't have a problem selling into lower prices. I don't have a problem buying into higher prices. I'd rather buy into higher prices, honestly. I'm completely fine with missing the beginning of the move. Like if this thing is going to move far as we think it will be, or crypto as a whole, even, it'll be a rounding error whether or not I buy at 16,000 BTC or I buy at 20,000 BTC.
Yeah.
So I have no problem buying higher, because for me, I like to see market structure reclaimed. Don't get me wrong. I want to see all the things that happen that we have happening, like blow ups, people carried out, not in the fashion that it's happened right now. That's terrible. But what that implies is that positioning has been taken out. So any kind of overhead resistance, more of it's washed out. On the way back up, it's usually a little bit easier when a market's smaller. There's the market's a little thinner in that direction. You've just cleaned out any future seller. The difference with this situation is you don't know what else is waiting to be sold, because we're in a little bit more of a precarious legal situation now. So that's the elephant in the room. I personally, like I said, higher prices, more of a clear signal that we're reclaiming levels that were really significant for us. So something like back inside the range, that'd be if we were able to reclaim the lows of the range, I'm not going to second guess it. I'm just going to buy and place my stop below the low, honestly, and not micromanage it, because that kind of response after, we're not just talking about a short squeeze either. Something that is being bid up, accepted back within the prior range, and with what has happened in the rear view at that point, what more could you ask for? If the market's higher, trading higher after that, it's a really clear signal, right? So what we did have recently, and it sucks because look at what's happened post CPI. The market started responding to positive news positively and shaking off negative news. That's as good of a sign as you're going to get for a bottom. So it sucks that we got screwed over this way, because I think that we would be much higher across the board. But you could also say maybe we have a big pump because all the shorts that accumulated at the low. I don't, it's up in the air. What was your second question? I forgot. Sorry.
Probability of SBF managing to actually raise.
So I saw something about a token, issuing a token.
No.
Yeah.
Seriously, no.
Something about a token allowing, them earning the money back through fees and keeping people on, and future, some kind of future redemption for that. I don't know, honestly. I just woke up, briefly saw this. I think he's screwed.
So that's like we dug a hole with a spade, and now we're going to bring a caterpillar in and dig the hole deeper. That's basically what that is.
Can you guys, so this is going to be abrupt. I have to take a piss. So
we'll edit it out. So take a piss, and then
I'll be right back.
I don't know where Jerry is, and I don't want to take up too much more of your time. But I can't say how much I appreciate you coming on. Been following for extremely long time, and as I say, if there's anything we can help with regards to the Discord or YouTube or any of that fun stuff, just saying, consider it done. And I'll let you know when this is about to go out. And yeah, that's about it.
Appreciate it.
Thanks again.